MSNBC, but we won't tell him we saw him there. And many other networks. He is a highly sought-after speaker and a patriot. Will you please welcome the man who started it all out here, Mark Meckler!
Well, thank you guys very much for being here today. It's a beautiful day, right? You know, it's kind of sentimental being here today. How many of you were here 5 years ago when this whole thing got started? Pretty extraordinary. I had no idea, I assume none of you had any idea, unless you're a lot smarter, that this was going to keep going for 5 years. We didn't know it would keep going for 5 days when this thing got started, right? But obviously there was something going on in the country. There was something taking place in the hearts and minds of Americans in this country that caused the Tea Party to explode on the political scene. Now, if you follow the media all these days, especially if you watch the left-wing media, what you will hear is that the Tea Party is dead, right? You guys hear that? You'll hear that conservatism is dead. The pundits will tell you, and this is not just the pundits on the left, but you'll hear this from the right too, that based on the last election in which we were so terribly beaten down, that conservatism is dead and that we have to rethink our values and that our job as conservatives is to become some sort of democratic light. Are you guys on board with that? I'm not on board with that. And it's a load. It's a complete load. You know, after an election, when you lose an election, and make no mistake, we lost this last election, when you do, the job of your political opponent is to kick you when you're down. It's what we did in 2010, right? I mean, I went on television every chance I could and talked about the death of the Democratic Party and liberalism was dead and progressivism is dead, and that's your job when you win an election in this country, is to go out and fight like it's the day before the election and to kick your opponent when you're down and to try to take the life out of the ideals that they're trying to foist on the nation. And that's what the left is trying to do to us right now, but we're not going to let them do that to us, are we? No! It's really important that we know the real numbers behind this election and what really happened in November. Now, November was a depressing month for us, right? Anybody who was frustrated or depressed, raise your hand. Looks like it's pretty universal out there. I was devastated. And I went home and I crawled in my cave and I put my head down on my desk and I thought about, what happened? I mean, how did we lose the American people? It seems so obvious the country is headed in the wrong direction. Do you guys think the country's headed in the wrong direction? Yeah! Okay, so it seems so obvious to us, and then we lose this presidential election. How could it be? And if you listen to the Democrats tell it, we got slaughtered, right? This is what you hear. It was a 3-point election. I just want to clarify the numbers for you. A 3-point election. That means we lost this election by roughly half of the population of Los Angeles County. That's it. That's no wipeout. That's a bare margin is what we lost this election by. And we might have lost the election, but more importantly to me, where are the hearts and the minds of the American people? What are they thinking? You know, elections come and go. Every 2 years we have another one. We have one coming up real quick. We're going to win the next one, right? You guys with me? So we've got another one coming up really soon, and those things come and go every 2 years, every 4 years we see a change in this country. We've all seen a lot of that in our lives, but what changes more slowly, what's more difficult to change, not who's in office, but American public opinion. So I started really paying attention. Where are Americans at? What are they thinking? Do you know today 73% of Americans say government is too big, too intrusive, and spends too much money? Are you guys part of that 73%? Now, unfortunately, I attended public schools in California, so my math isn't all that good. But still, I think 73%, that's almost 3/4 of the American public feels the way that we feel here at this event today. Do you know today 53%, a full 53% of the American public says that the federal government is a direct threat to our freedom and liberty? Anybody agree with that? That's the majority of Americans believe that. Extraordinary number. During the sequester fight, did you know that 63% of Americans said they wanted to see the balance in favor of cuts and not tax increases? Now, 52% were smart enough to understand that the doofuses in this building and in the Capitol in Washington, D.C. would never pass something like that, but they felt like you did. Cut government, not increase taxes, right? Guys with me? I tell you those statistics because it's important that you understand where we're at in this country. Right? The majority of Americans think the way you think. The majority of Americans feel the way you feel about government. They're tired of government in their lives. They're tired of government taking out of their pocketbooks, and they're tired of government taking away their liberties. You guys feel that way? Have you had enough? So you're not alone. No matter what they say, the majority of American people are with you. And this is even more extraordinary when you look at the history of public discourse in this country. Does anybody think that we have a left-wing media bias in this country? It almost goes without saying, right? Does anybody think that our educational institutions have a left-wing bias? So that's 50 years at least of that, since the 1960s at a minimum. The media telling us that the answer is big government, more programs, only Uncle Sam can decide for you. Only the folks under the Capitol Dome here can tell you how to educate your children. 50 years of that, right? And we've had 50 years of the educational system in this country, from kindergarten through postdoctorate, telling us that government is the answer. That you're not the answer, you don't know. You need some smart guy with a PhD to tell you how to raise your kids, spend your money, farm your crops, raise your animals, drive your car, because you guys can't do that. 50 years of our educational system doing that, right? And over 100 years, at least since the Wilson administration, of government itself telling us the same thing, every level. City councils, county boards, the federal government, the state government, all telling us, we need more of your money, we need more control, we need to tell you what to do. Government itself with trillions of dollars of spending telling you that they know how to run your life better than you do. Do you guys agree that's what government does? So think about this. I gave you those statistics. 73% of Americans say government's too big, too intrusive, spends too much. 52% of Americans say the federal government is a threat to our liberty and freedom. 63% of Americans wanted to see government cut instead of tax increases. And all of that in the face of 50 years of propaganda from our educational institutions, 50 years of propaganda from the media, and over 100 years of propaganda from the government itself. That is a miracle, isn't it? The American people are with us. And this is really encouraging to me. This is why I came here today. This is why I'm so excited to be here with you. Because despite all the propaganda, despite the fact that they tell you that your values are dead, the majority of American people hold and share your values. And that is nothing short of a miracle in America today. Are you guys with me? I tell you all this because we did lose an election and we have to deal with that reality. And when you lose an election, there are consequences, and there are bad consequences in this country right now. But it is hard to change American public opinion, and not that hard to change your messaging. And it's up to us to get the messaging right, and to take that message of constitutionally limited government, and free markets, and fiscal responsibility to the American people. I'm here today to ask you guys to help me continue to do that for the next 5 years. Are you with me? God bless you guys. Thank you for being here today. God bless the Tea Party.